One of my friends asked me a good question. He asked me, Steve, what do you look for when you buy a used car? What are some things you can think about when you're shopping around for an old beater? How do you know you're getting a car that has good value? Today I'm going to tell you about that. In my opinion, there are 4 things you want to consider when shopping for a used car. The first is price. If you are rich, you wouldn't even be thinking about getting a used car. You just go buy a new one. The second thing is the exterior. How does it look? Is it messed up? Is it dented? Is it rusted? The third thing is the interior. How is the inside of the car? Is it in good shape? Or is it absolute garbage? And the last thing is the mechanicals. How does it run? How does it drive? Is everything functional? Is it gonna last? Okay, so for the first one, cost. Basically what you want to do is see if the car you're looking at is worth the asking price, worth what they're wanting for it. So to do that, you need to get a baseline price. So go on your computer, go on the internet, go to kellybluebook.com, kbb.com, and edmunds.com, and put in the details for the car that you're interested in, the car that you're looking at. And it'll give you a price. It'll give you a baseline price. And you take that and then go and look at very similar cars on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. If you're looking at a specific car, it might say this car is worth way more than it actually is. And then when you look at Craigslist or other sources for this car, it might say something else. It might say it's worth way less. Second item on my 4-point list. Exterior. So you want to look at the exterior of this car. You got the price figured out. You go and look at the car. You want to look at the exterior. You want to look for rust. You want to look for damage. Maybe there's been some repairs in the past. Maybe it's been in an accident. You want to look for all that stuff. So I've got my car right behind me here, and it might look great, but it's got some damage here and there. It's got some problems. So let's take a closer look at what to look at. Basically, you want to walk around your car and you want to get really close. If you're 10 feet back, you'll probably miss a lot of stuff. So for example, right here, there's a dent. There's actually a dent. You want to get up nice and close. Here's a big scratch, right? The clear coat is peeling off here. If you want that redone, it's going to be pretty expensive. If you're just buying a cheap car, you probably won't ever worry about it. But here we've got a bit of rust. This whole wheel arch is actually pretty rusty. It's not the greatest. And then basically all along this car, you'll actually find rust spots. Here's a rust spot. Here's a rust spot. Here's a rust spot up here. This car is an old car. It's a 2000, so it's already 19 years old. So this isn't very surprising. Here we've got some damage. Looks like the light is coming out. Another thing to look for is the body panels. If a car's been in an accident, they won't line up quite right. So as we continue along this car, you'll actually notice this car has run into something before. It's pretty obvious. Here we've got some zip ties. The whole front end is kind of smashed up. The grills are missing. The hood's kind of dented a little bit. See here, the paint is a bit faded. The whole mirror is missing. There's a huge scratch along the edge. Oh, and look at this. What is that? Huge rust spot. Huge rust spot. If I just put my finger in here, it would go right through the metal. That's not even metal anymore. That's just rust. That's not going to be easy or cheap to fix. Here's another spot. That one's about to go through. More rust here. Rust like this on a car, if you want the car to last for a long time, I would not recommend. Another thing you'll find is maybe plastic clips have broken. Stuff's falling apart. That's what's going on here. After you've looked over the whole car, you want to take a peek underneath. We can see here, the muffler tip is literally rusted off. Basically, we want to inspect points that will wear out quickly around the wheels, where the wheels attach to the vehicle. So here we've got some more rust. This isn't really going to be a big deal, but if it's really bad, you'll notice. One big issue that cars will eventually have is the ball joints will wear out. The ball joints are basically the parts that attach the wheels to the car. So at every point where the car connects to the wheel, there's a little joint, and over time those just wear out. It's just the way it is. One way you can kind of figure that out is grab the top of the wheel, push back and forth, and if there's a lot of play in that, you'll feel it. You'll feel the wheel kind of clunking back and forth. Same side to side. So we pop the hood, and then you want to inspect these frame rails here. Sometimes if it's been in an accident, there'll be little waves in the metal. You want to look for things not lining up. So for example here, you can see a bit of metal there. This car did crash into somebody, and so basically the whole front end was shifted back just a tiny bit. These frame rails down here, you want to see if those are damaged or bent at all. There's one here. There's going to be one on the other side as well. You want to check the oil. Has it been changed? Is it super low? Sometimes you'll see cars that are just empty. There's just no oil in them. Other fluids too, power steering, and we've got coolant here. If the car's been running, you won't be able to check the coolant most likely because it's hot and under pressure. You want to check for leaks. There might be oil all over the engine or all over the engine bay, just everywhere. The next thing is interior. You want to check over the interior. You want to make sure everything functions, everything works. For example, the radio. You want to turn it on. You want to play some music. Play it pretty loud. If the speakers are busted, you're going to hear that. You want to turn the air conditioning on, run it, turn the heat on. If it has heated seats or heated steering wheel, you want to test that those work. You want to make sure all the windows work. You want to make sure the door handles work, the blinkers, lights, etc., etc. You just want to make sure everything functions. If things don't work the way they're supposed to, you're gonna have to either fix them or live with it. You just want to check over the seats. So for example, this seat, obviously it has some sort of damage going on here. The threads are ripping out. The trim piece is falling down here. The sunroof is actually missing a cover that slides here. I have a theory that if a car can drive across town, it'll be able to drive across the country. If it can run for half an hour, it'll probably be able to run for days on end. You want to take it for a test drive. Just drive it around, see if the wheel tracks straight. So if you're driving and you take your hands off the wheel, does it go straight? You want to test this on the highway as well. If it doesn't, you're gonna have alignment issues, tire issues, something along those lines. Then turn the wheel all the way left or right. Do you hear any sounds, any clicking, any grinding, any rubbing? Actuate the brakes. Does it brake smoothly? Does the wheel pull to the left or the right at all? Does the wheel vibrate? You want to shift through all the gears. So first, second, third. Just get it up on the highway and you can get to the higher gears pretty easily. So as you're driving around in your parking lot, another thing to do is push the gas pedal all the way down and see if everything operates smoothly. Any new noises, any new sounds, watch out for those. In conclusion, we talked about the price. Is the car that you're looking at worth what they're actually asking? We talked about the interior and the exterior. Are there problems with it that you're either going to have to pay to fix or you're going to have to live with? And then we talked about the mechanicals. Is the car going to last? Is it going to run? Is it going to work for you? James, my question for you is, what are your thoughts on driverless cars? There are huge implications. This is a massively open-ended question, but there are huge implications with driverless cars. You have the ethics behind it, what's right and what's wrong. If the car hits somebody, is it the person's problem? Is it the manufacturer's problem? Who's responsible for that? There are other things like trucking. What happens with trucking? It's going to change massively. People might not even need to own their own cars. So you can answer this however you want, but what are your thoughts on driverless cars?